Good morning. Wow, there was some language in that song. Sorry, everybody. Didn't realize we were going to start the morning off so fiery. Happy Wednesday, April 2nd. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the month of April. Welcome to Q2. We have an awesome second quarter coming for us. I can feel it. So, you guys know me. Let's go ahead and tell me something good that has happened to you in the last week. All right, Michael Cleveland says, here to not listen to songs that drop. I know. I literally am so sorry that that happened. I did not realize that that was on there. So that will not happen again. Woo! All right. Good morning, everyone. I mean, it's a pumped up song, but it's not good. Not good. So tell me something good that's happened to you in the past week. And while we're doing that, I want to let everyone know that today, April 2nd, is actually Jim Beggins' birthday. So I am saying that because for those of you who don't know, Jim Beggins, actually, he's my grandfather. So me being third generation realtor means that Jim Beggins actually opened the very first Century 21 franchise in the state of Florida back in the 1970s. So the history of the Beggins franchise goes so far back, and it's so exciting to be able to celebrate him today. Today is his birthday. So if you all have his email, I'm going to put it in here because I feel like we need to blow him up today. Jim Beggins at c21be.com. I want everyone to send him a happy birthday email today. He's an important guy, and we're glad that he started this brand way back in the day. He's got tons of history. So everyone tell Jim Beggins happy birthday today. All right, where is everyone? Tell me something good that has happened to you in the past week. Something good that happened to a lot of us and some of us. We had about 10 people with us at the Top Agent Retreat in Anaheim, California last week. And it was super fun. We all got to connect to each other. We got to live the Century 21 brand for a couple of days. We got to meet and mingle with brokers and top agents, like top agents from all around the country. And it was really, really fun. So they had us at Disneyland in California, and it was wonderful. So the goal would be to become a top agent this year so that you get invited to the top agent event next year. Then you get to mix and mingle with everybody. Yes, Kalani, it was a great time. It was. So that was something fun that we did. While I was gone, business was still happening. So we go back over to California. We're 3 hours behind where we are now. So 6:30 in the morning there. The world has basically been lit on fire by 9:30, and there's tons of stuff going on. So it was hard to keep up, but exciting to be a part of something bigger and really feel the Century 21 brand. So looks like Kathleen, you raised your hand. Would you like to? Oh, nope. Hand went down. Kalani says, my newest listing went under contract on Monday and two new listings on the market this week. Yes, congratulations, Kalani. See, and she was out in California celebrating her Centurion Award rankings, and she was still doing business while she was gone. So this is the goal. Okay, Kathleen, I do see your hand raised. I just allowed you to talk if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to thank Chris for last week's therapy session because it was awesome. I don't know how many
Oh,
other people he helped, but he helped me greatly. It was all because of something I had said, and he went through it like 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, just was on it and on it. And I took a lot from that. And now I get up at 8 a.m. I have my hair done, my makeup on. I do 3 or 4 TikTok and Facebook videos. I get on for my Zoom call, and then I call at least 25 people in my sphere. And then I try to
nice.
get at least one appointment for the week. Then when I get that kind of stuff done, then I can go on my bike for an hour and a half. Then I can come back and do some more work. and then I go and I go swim, and I come back, and I'm much happier.
I
I have
love
a
that.
much better outlook. Much
Oh, that is so wonderful. So what you did is you have a schedule, but your
no more. I
schedule
have
gave
no
you
more work.
freedom. A
There's
lot.
no more money, but I have a better outlook.
It will bring you more money though. If you are
Right.
reaching 25 of your sphere every single day, you'll
Yes.
eventually start getting more than one appointment a week. So you're going to keep
I'm
keep
just
going.
shocked at how many people are on my snowbird group in um, Snowbirds for Florida from Canada. I have like
Ooh.
27,000 people on there.
Okay, that's a lot. You
I know.
you have a lot of people to hit.
Yeah. But I wish I knew what to do with them.
You will. They'll tell you. They'll tell you
Okay.
what they want. Just the more you reach out to them and create a relationship with them, you're going to be their go-to real estate person down here. So just,
Well, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was a really good thing last week because Chris was wonderful. I said, I've never had
that's
free therapy
wonderful.
before. That was awesome.
I've heard awesome things about his class last week. I'm sure he's on and he is glowing, I hope.
I
So
hope so
that's
too.
wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Kathleen. Thank you for being bold enough to speak out loud too, instead of just typing in the chat. You really raised the level of expectation today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Looks it and it says Kalani won one heck of a negotiation by hitting the ball back over the net and working with the other agent to make the deal work. Wonderful. Yeah, Kalani's a team player. She's probably the best to work with. We have lots of good things going on. Mandy says, yes, it's truly amazing to be part of a brokerage who cares so much about our mental health too. It's truly changed my
Yeah.
life. So I thank you all. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, Chris does a great job with that. And he also provides coaching. So if you want some one on one coaching to help your business grow, definitely reach out to Chris about that also.
Can you put his
Oh,
can you put
Kathleen,
his
you are
email
still
in the chat?
his email. Yes, I know he does have a Calendly link also. Chris, if you're listening and you want to throw that in, let's see. I can probably pull it up though. Let's see. Click here to book a coaching call. I'm going to copy this and put this in the meeting for everybody because this is his strong suit. Everyone. Perfect. Okay, that's the link. Chris, you're about to get blown up. All right. So hope this is okay. But Chris's Calendly link is in the chat to schedule coaching with him because it sounds like his meeting last week was absolute fire, and now you've got everyone pumped up. Aw, okay. I love this. Okay. So we have about 22 minutes left, and we are going to get into buyer broker agreements this morning. Why are we doing this? Buyer broker agreements are required, right? They're out there. We have to deal with them. We have to get them signed before we start working with a buyer. So we're just going to get back to the basics. Things changed last year and it got crazy, but we've got to create a relationship with the buyers in a way that gets them comfortable signing this exclusive buyer broker agreement. So I have multiple of these signed. I know lots of you have multiples of these signed. It's the easy ones that are not the problem. It's a friend and it's like, hey, I'm going to do my best to get the commission covered for you. Just sign here. We're working together. It's the buyers that come to you from another location. So I've got a buyer who's coming into town on April 14th. He lives in the Washington, D.C. area right now. He's a referral from another Century 21 brokerage. And I've now got to get the buyer broker signed before I can start shopping with him for properties. So I've been connecting with him over the phone, learning a little bit more about what he's interested in as far as homes, as far as lifestyle, things like that. So the more that I learn about him, the more that I'm going to be able to put this presentation together. Now, I'm going to have to get him to sign this buyer broker before we meet in person. So I have about 10 days to get this done before he decides it's the time to fly to Florida. So One way that you can do this is if you do have an out of town buyer is really put that first step forward in getting them to actually sit down with you in a Zoom call and say, there were some industry changes last year. And in order for us to work together, I want to just explain to you how the home buying process is going to work and how I'll represent you as your agent. So, do you have a couple minutes? We could just hop on a Zoom call before your trip here to Florida and make sure we have everything ironed out and put together a good plan for you. That's a great way to do it. Do it on Zoom. If your person is here in person, I would highly recommend taking that extra step to meet them in person to get this done. So it's not just a here, sign this document, send them it on dot loop and call it a day. You've got to create this genuine relationship with them. Because are we having this issue where people are signing multiple of these? Yes, we are. And is that because the agents are not explaining fully that this is a legal binding contract? This puts you and I in a working relationship together for X amount of months in this location. So, anywhere you buy a home in this location, you and I are under contract to work together. You've got to make this clear to the buyers. When you make this clear to the buyers, though, you are putting yourself in a professional status in their eyes. You're no longer just a door opener for them. You're not someone who's just meeting them at the door. You're providing no value. You are someone who is a professional. This is how you get paid, and this is how you represent them as a client. Okay, so we've got to get that fact straight. Is working with buyers these days, you are now under contract with them, just like you are under contract with a seller to market and sell their property. Same thing, just as important, and you're putting in how much you're going to get paid. So, very important. The more you have these signed, the more buyers you have in your pipeline. They're true active buyers, and you're now in a relationship with them, and you've got to do a good job. So, what are some ways that you guys are doing this? Um, Obviously, we have our Moxie presentation, and that's what I'm going to touch on today. That's how I do it. I am going to sit down with these people at a coffee shop, create a genuine relationship with them, and go over the Moxie presentation and say, this is what I'm going to do for you as a buyer. These are the steps in the home buying process. And once you go through the presentation, you've presented some value to them. You've now created a connection, and you say, if you'd like to work together, this is the document that we need executed. And then we can start shopping for homes. So it's really important not to meet them at the home for the first time when you're showing them now. Like last year, we were like, okay, yeah, I'll meet you at 123 Any Street at 3 o'clock. See you there. Boom. And then you meet them there, and then they go and meet Sally Joe at 5 p.m. at a different property because there was nothing holding them to it. So things have changed. And we know this, but it's actually changed. Like we have to do this. Okay. So I want to go ahead and just show you guys our 2025 buyer presentation and kind of go through it as if you were my buyer on Zoom and we were going through this presentation together. And then we'll review the buyer broker. Oh, yeah, that's good. Thank you, Zoom. And then we'll review the buyer broker agreement and just go through it as if you were a buyer signing it, just to see, is this something that you guys can replicate? And I think that it is. And I think that it's important for us to do this in person if we can. And if not, we got to do it over Zoom because you need to have these signed before we go meet them in person to show them a property. All right. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will hop on. All right. So yeah, Chris reads. He's going to be like, Jessica. No, it's good. Okay. Also, I know the majority of you probably know how to get here, but when you are in Moxie Present, you're going to go to this Present tab at the top. And when you create a new buyer presentation, you're going to click Buyer. And then you're going to come in here, and the brokerage templates is what automatically shows at the top. And the 2025 buyer presentation is already loaded into Moxie. So this is what you're going to select moving forward. And I've already opened it. So this is the web version. So if you're with somebody on Zoom, just go ahead and share your screen and go over this together. If you're in person, there is a PDF print version that you can print and have it and flip through the documents with them. But it's very important. We've got to demonstrate our value so that they see the purpose in signing the exclusive buyer broker agreement with us. All right. So Thank you, Angelique, for putting this together. She did a great job. The Home Buyer's Guide and Your Homeownership Journey with Century 21 Beggins. So there is a buyer presentation video. We made one that is very similar to what we did for listings. So I am sharing my computer sound. You guys should be able to hear this. I'm going to play the video so that you can understand what is being sent to your clients.
Taking the time to interview the Century 21 Beggins family of companies and agents for the job of finding you your next property or home. We take our responsibility very seriously as we recognize this is one of the most emotional and exciting times of life, as well as one that's filled with anxiety that requires experience. We know you have options, and over the next couple of moments, we trust that you will clearly see, hear, and get a feel for all the reasons why you will feel comfortable and proud when you hire us for the job of finding your perfect property. The buying landscape has become increasingly confusing with all the regulations and rules recently. We are here, we understand them all.
Oh man. Okay. Well, never mind because there's no sound. I don't know how to make that happen. I'm no Jimmy. Anyways, there's a really great buyer presentation video here that actually has Jeff Beggins' voice in the background going over all of these things. So I highly encourage you to watch this video, know about it, and when you're with your clients, I want you to show it to them. I want you to play the video in front of your clients and watch the video with them like it's the first time you've ever seen the video. Okay, this is a whole experience. You're going to do it with them. So we've got the video already embedded into the presentation. So the first page just goes over congratulations. You've made the first step in your home buying journey, and that is finding a realtor to work with. So I'm going to explain to you kind of what the process is and what to expect. So the first thing is this initial consultation. And then we're going to make sure I have a bunch of lender partners that I work with. So I'm going to send you some options and feel free to call whoever you'd want and, get comfortable with them. They're going to help you find that price range within that monthly payment that you want to stay under. It's important, I think, when you are talking to buyers to hit on that monthly payment. And the reason is that's what the buyers care about. Where when you're working with a seller, the sellers care about their net and what they're going to walk away with at the end of the day. The buyers care about what their monthly payment is going to be. Another thing that I encourage you to do when you're working with buyers is look up what the estimated tax value is going to be after they purchase. Because what a lender is doing is looking at the 2024 tax bill, and they are estimating the buyer's payment off of that. But what happens when January 1 of next year comes, the home is reassessed and their mortgage payment jumps because their taxes are reevaluated? They call you and they say, "Why did my mortgage rate just go up $500 a month?" Because they were not expecting this. So I think if you take anything from this presentation today, it is to understand the estimated tax bill for after the buyer purchases, whether or not they're homesteading the property. And you can do that on the property appraiser's website. It will give you what the estimated tax will be. And I want you to tell their lender that and use that figure to estimate their monthly payment. Okay. We want to estimate on the high side. We want the expectations to be up here so that when the payments actually down here for a little bit, they're happy. We don't want the opposite to happen. So make sure that you're doing that. So, but this is all part of the financial preparation. And the more comfortable you get going through the buyer process, the more you're going to learn throughout this experience. Definitely touch on that. Okay. All right. And then you're going to get into the home search. And in the home search, we're going to understand more about, you want to know what their commute times are to work, what do they do on the weekends? What do they do at night? What do they like to be close to? Is there family that they need to be close to? Having a big picture of where they're moving, why they're moving, what do they need to be close to, and what they want their payment to be is going to help you find where on the map they actually are going to fit best. And you can look at things like CDD fees for new home communities. That's going to raise their tax bill. So it's going to raise their monthly payment. Are they in a flood zone? Because that's going to raise their monthly payment. So if you can kind of have an understanding of where they want to be monthly and understand where they need to be close to, then you can help them big picture wise be like, this would be a great area for you based on drive time and location and monthly payment. All right. So home search is important before you set the home search to understand what their needs are. And then you're going to go into the making the offer process. Be vague on this because we don't want to like drown them with so much information that they just are like, what is going on? So there, if you are doing this initial consultation with them, you are sitting with them in the very beginning of this process. So the more you overload them, especially if they're first time home buyers, they're just going to go, whoop, they're going to forget what you said in the beginning and it's all going to be overwhelming. So when you do get to the making an offer portion, I want you just to be brief with it and say, when we get to this point, I'll make sure that you understand every line in the contract and you feel comfortable moving forward. All right. And then inspections and appraisals. Here, I just want you to let them know that you have resources for them and that during the inspection period, we are going to do all of our due diligence to make sure that we understand everything about the property to make sure you're comfortable moving forward. And then we're going to get prepared to move. We have vendors for this. We have utility helpers that will help you set up utilities in the location that you're moving to, transfer from where you are now. You and I working together is so that I can take all of these issues and help you through the process. Wow, this microphone is really in my way. Okay. And then we're going to get to the closing day. One question that I get often is, do I actually get the keys on closing day? Yes. So when we get to closing, this is the day that you're going to sign the papers. You are officially making the home yours and you are going to take the keys. I highly recommend moving in the day after closing. That's also a key. I want you to say that. So embedded in this presentation, we also have the lifestyle profile sheet. So this is what you're going to use to kind of go line by line so that you can understand more of how to set up their home search. And you could print this out and you can actually make notes on this and save it in a file for this buyer. You can send it to them, ask them to fill it out. You can just have it on the screen and go over it with them. But I think this is important. Are you moving here for a job? What day does your job start? Are you currently renting? When is your lease up? Understanding all of this information is going to help you help them. Okay. When we go into the steps in the buying process, this is a cute little graphic. So we're here. You've decided to buy a home. Today's our initial consultation. So the next step is to go ahead and get pre-approved with a lender. So like I said, I've got a couple different options. I'm going to send them to you. Let's start there. From there, we'll go to your home search and then the rest is going to will flow after. But let's go ahead and focus on getting approved with a mortgage lender. So these are some key terms that are going to be used throughout the transaction. If I'm ever abbreviating something that you don't understand, this is what I do daily, so I might gloss over it. Just tell me, slow down and explain that to me, and I will. So these are the key terms to kind of understand throughout the process, but I'm happy to break them down for you at any time. Okay, and then the power of the pre-approval. So we have this in here to reiterate, we need the pre-approval in order to write an offer on your property. Because if you put yourself in the shoes of a seller and you get a buyer's offer, you want to know that that is a sure buyer who has the money to buy your property. You don't want to accept an offer and then 30 days down the road turns out, oh, actually, I'm not qualified to purchase. So having that pre-approval is going to be your ticket to getting the offer accepted. And here's some things to know that they're going to ask you for. They're going to ask you about your income, any assets that you have. They're going to look into your credit history, your years of employment, and your debt. And they're going to analyze all of that to come up with a purchase price that is going to be comfortable. And then a lot of good lenders, make sure you tell them this too, you are able to send a property that you're interested in to your mortgage lender, and they will give you a breakdown of what the monthly payment will be and what the cash to close is going to be. So, what would the down payment and closing costs look like on this property, and um, how much is the mortgage payment going to be? So, it's important when you've got somebody that's real sensitive on payment to let them know that we can do a per property diagnostic for you. All right. And then we get into the closing costs. So this is important. A lot of buyers, we've got to stress that there is a down payment and then there are closing costs. And these are two different things that are both due on closing day. So what are closing costs? What do they, what is considered as part of that? So what I usually tell them is that your closing costs are made up of usually you have to pay your homeowner's insurance 1 year in advance. So it's your homeowner's, a year of your homeowner's insurance, a couple months of your taxes get escrowed. And then you've got there's some, a lender's title, some lender fees is what I usually say. And then there's some fees that are paid outside of closing. So you want to let them know about inspections, surveys, and appraisals. And then this is where you can drop that last year there was a change in the industry where they just made it very clear that buyer's agents or buyers pay buyer's agents and sellers pay sellers agents. So one cost associated with buying a home is also paying the buying broker for their services. So at Century 21, we charge 3% to represent you, 3% of the purchase price to represent you throughout the transaction. And I'm going to go over how I actually get that covered by the seller still. So you and I working together. My gosh, I had a thought in my mind and then we didn't. I want to see, sounds slow. Also help them understand what their insurance might be. Yes, Stephanie, thank you. Help them understand what their insurance might be because that also associates with monthly payment. But so drop where this is where you're going to be. We have a buyer broker agreement that we'll sign, but I'm going to do everything that I can to have the sellers pay this fee for you. And I'm going to show you how I go over the buyer broker agreement too. We have about 4 minutes left, which is perfect timing. So also part of this is where you get into the home inspections. In this, I would tell them about how much they cost. Home inspections are generally between $500 and $600. And we have our due diligence to find out everything we need to know about the property. Then we're getting ready for closing. We're going to set up your utilities. We have storage companies to help you, all the things. And then we move into the getting started process. So this is where we talk about the buyer broker agreement and what this means to you. So we know this can be exciting and a bit overwhelming. That's what the video said that no one could hear. Anyways, the buyer broker agreement is going to outline our obligations to each other. So we embedded the buyer broker agreement here, but I do want to pull it up separately so that you and I can go through it together. But just so you guys know, we do have it in our agreement and then information about you. So this is the standard buyer presentation. I did nothing to change this. Okay, this was how it came out of Moxie. This is how we have it ready for you. So when you are meeting with a buyer, I highly recommend that you go through this Moxie Present buyer presentation with them so that they know how to move forward. All right, now in dotloop, one way that I keep these all organized is I have a folder I have a loop in dotloop called buyer broker agreements. And you can go in here and you can put all of your buyers in here. So these are my buyers that I have under contract right now. And then once you get the buyers under contract, you can then copy into the loop with the address. Because I know it's hard. You're like, well, what do I name the loop? And then you have all these loops for all these buyers, and it's really hard to keep everything together. So what I've done is created a loop called buyer broker agreements, and I keep everybody in here. Great idea, Kathleen says. Yes. Okay, awesome. Hopefully you're taking something from this today. All right. So when you get a new folder, name it your buyer name. Okay. And then in the templates, I go to all documents and we're going to look for the exclusive buyer broker agreement. Now we want the 7TB one, which is the transaction broker. And I think it's down here actually. Yep. So when you type in exclusive buyer, it's the 4th version down, exclusive buyer broker agreement transaction broker. This is the one that we want. So we're going to copy this in. And now all you agents that are in here, I want you to know you got to remove your buyers after they sign. Okay. Because otherwise you'll have like a million buyers that are auto populating your forms. So once they've signed, remove them. Okay. Then you can add your new buyers in and they'll show up here so that when you go to autofill a document, you have the correct information. Okay, so here is the exclusive buyer broker agreement. I know that some of us are sending a showing agreement. It's 9:30, so I'm going to be quick. I know that some of you are maybe feeling anxious about this, so you're like, "Hey, we got to see this property. I'm just sign this. It's a new thing that happened." You've got to go over this whole presentation so that they feel comfortable signing a 3-page document, okay? When you do go over this, let them know this is an agreement between you and I that shows what my obligations to you as your realtor are and what we ask in return, and then how we earn our compensation. So it's between you and I. It will start today. We typically go about 6 months. You know, you mentioned that your lease is up in June, so we want to make sure that you're in a home by then. So play with this date a little bit. If they not seeing my screen. Are you guys not seeing my screen? Let me know. Celeste Busby says, we're not seeing your screen. Should I see it? Okay. Should we be setting appointments for sellers and buyers? Kathleen, yes. We should be setting appointments in person with sellers and buyers. And yep. And how to handle objections. I had one of those the other day. It was pretty interesting, but we'll get there. So play with the date here. If it's last August, I had somebody whose lease was not up until May this year. So I had them sign a 1-year buyer broker agreement. Then I've got somebody else whose lease is up and you boom, boom, boom. So if you want 3 months here, that's fine. Whatever you put here, this is an agreement where you are the only agent that they're working with. Okay. Type of property, I usually leave this pretty vague. I usually put in something like single family home, um, or you could put primary residence or investment home, whatever they're looking for, but try to make it broad. Because if they're looking at single family, but then they end up buying a townhouse, you've now excluded it. So, yep, Lauren says residential, something that's going to keep it broad. Location, also, try to keep it as broad as possible. If you put Riverview and they buy in Valrico, you're now out of the agreement. So Hillsborough County, um, Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco County, make the location somewhere where they're actually going to buy the property. And then this goes over our broker obligations. So with this, we are going to use our knowledge and skills to make sure that you are making a informed decision when buying the property. We are going to work with other agents throughout the transaction to negotiate your deal. We work under fair housing laws, and any service providers that I send to you are third parties, and feel free to use whoever you'd like. And as the consumer, I just ask that you give me the time needed to show the properties. I'll be flexible. So if you need to show at night or on the weekends, I'll do what I can to make my schedule work for you to see properties. And in return, I just ask that you do the same. All right. We at Century 21 Beggins do not charge a retainer fee, but we do earn compensation at time of closing. So there's 3 different ways that Century 21 can be paid. One is if we do enter into a purchase of sale contract, which is our goal here to buy you a house. So Century 21 Beggins charges 3% of the purchase price plus a $325 transaction fee. Or if we were to enter into a lease agreement, or if we entered into an option contract. But really, we're here to buy your primary residence. So the purchase or exchange is what's going to go into effect. Now, as the buyer, this is saying that you will be paying this 3%, but I'm going to do everything that I can to negotiate that the seller pay this fee for you. If we come into a situation where the seller is not willing to pay the full 3%, we can renegotiate at that time. We can negotiate with the seller based on price, and I will do everything that I can to get this covered by the seller. Okay. So just kind of reiterate that to them, because now they're panicking. Now they're like, I have to come up with a down payment, closing costs, and realtor fees. Let them know that since this change went into effect last year, I have gotten the commission paid for by the seller in X amount of deals that I've worked with. So let them know some stats, let them know that all of the sellers that I'm currently working with are offering a buyer agent compensation fee because they see the value in working with another agent. So I'm not worried about this. I will get this fee covered for you. Okay. There is a protection period. What this says is that if by the date that this comes to termination, if you do buy a property that you and I had worked on together within 45 days of our termination date, that Century 21 Beggins is still due compensation. And if you do decide to cancel this agreement early, we do have a cancellation fee of $500. But if I'm ever doing anything that you don't like, tell me and I'll fix it. Because my goal here is not to collect cancellation fees. My goal is to help you buy a house and get to the closing table and make this experience as smooth as possible for you. So if I'm ever doing anything you don't like, just tell me and I'll fix it. And then if for some reason we're really just not making it happen at the end, we would go to mediation. That's what this says before we move forward. All right. My brokerage relationship is acting as a transaction broker. So with that, I'm dealing honestly and fairly throughout the transaction and making sure that you know every material effect of the property that affects its value. Okay. So my goal is to make you fully aware of everything that's going on and make sure you're making an informed and confident decision in the home that you're buying. All right. So if that sounds good to you, let's go ahead and get started and working together. Sign here, initial here, boom, boom, boom. Okay. So that's an easy way to go through the buyer broker agreement in a way that makes this document less scary. But let them know, and this is a new clause that we have added into our dot loop because buyers are getting this signed with multiple different agents. So we now have clauses. Oops, sorry. We now have clauses that we can add. And let me see if I can find it. Okay, maybe, or maybe it's not added yet and we're working on it. Okay, she needs to add it. Okay. But we're going to add a term in here that just says buyer acknowledges that they have not signed another exclusive buyer broker agreement with another realtor. So we want to make sure that our buyers know this is a legally binding contract that puts you and I working together, and this is a one agent at a time type of situation. You know, I'm going to work really hard for you. So in return, any homes that you see, send them to me and we are going to be in this exclusive agreement together. All right. What do you guys think? What do you think? I mean, it's totally doable, right? You've got our Moxie Present. We're like, look at all this stuff that we're going to do for you. Here's what to expect throughout the process. And then you come over here and you get this document signed. All right. And then there's a really cool way to store all of them in dotloop. So we ran 7 minutes over. Hope you guys are still on here. Kathleen, how to handle objections. We're going to have to do that in another class, but it's just meeting them where they are. I had someone the other day that wanted to sign it at 2%, and I just, explained my value. I did get it signed at 2.5%, and I let him know that his thing was he wanted to sign it at 2% because any offer that we were competing against, if they only had to pay me 2% instead of 3%, he felt like he was getting ahead of them and he would get the deal accepted. So I just let him know I am never going to put you in a situation where what I'm getting paid is going to affect whether or not you get the house. Like, I will always work with you because you getting the house is my goal. But if somebody is willing to pay me more, willing to pay more and it's not affecting the transaction, I would hope that you would see the value in this fee that we charge. I had to like draft this whole email out and he was like, no, I understand, thank you. And he just wanted to make sure that he was getting a good deal and he would be winning offers if we were in a competing bid. What if you can't get the seller to pay your commission for me? Curious how you would handle that. What if you can't get the seller to pay your commission for me? So I would just let them know that I have not had that situation happen yet. Since these changes, the sellers that I have worked with buyers are offering compensation. Usually it's at least 2.5%, if not 3%. If that is not the case, it's always negotiable through price. So if we raise the price a little bit, we can usually get them to cover some of the commission, and I'm willing to do what I can to get that fee covered for you. So you will know ahead of time before we even see a house if the seller is offering compensation or not. And then we can make that decision moving forward. Is this something we want to take on? This could add closing costs for you at the end of the day, or we may need to wrap it into the loan and raise the purchase price to get the seller to cover it. So, yeah, Lauren says raise the price of the home. Exactly. Yep. So just kind of let them know some scenarios that have happened. We were off by $3,000. We were able to raise the price $3,000. The seller covered it. No money came out of the buyer's pocket, and it only changed the mortgage payment by like $2 a month. It was something that we were able to make work. So try to give them real life examples and then let them know that we will know ahead of time what the seller is offering or not before we even go see it. All right, everybody. I hope that that was helpful today. I apologize again for the music in the beginning. We won't play that song ever again. All right. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day. We ran 11 minutes over. Hope it was worth it. Have a great Wednesday. Thank you, everyone.